Hi, I'm Hal Roberts. This is Bridge City News. Here's some of the top stories we've been following. Patrick Brown has been disqualified from running as the new leader of the federal Conservatives. We will explain why. We have an exclusive one-on-one interview with UCP leadership hopeful Rebecca Schultz, who will tell us why she should become Alberta's new premier. And Street Machine Weekend is coming up in Lethbridge, one of the largest classic car shows in southern Alberta. We have a preview of what you can expect.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Hal Roberts.
Thanks so much for joining us. Patrick Brown has been disqualified for running to become the new leader of the federal Conservatives. In a statement, the Leadership Election Organizing Committee said they became aware of serious allegations of wrongdoing with the Patrick Brown campaign. It includes violating the financial provisions of the Canada Elections Act. The reports that Brown, who's the mayor of Brampton, Ontario, allegedly used city resources to help support his campaign. In his defense, Brown said the decision was based on anonymous allegations. Now, in a released statement, Brown said, "Our campaign was never provided with the full details or evidence of these allegations, failing an even basic requirement of due process." In recent days, the party has been on a fishing expedition requesting information with which we have cooperated entirely through our lawyers. The Conservative Party of Canada will announce their new leader on September the 10th. Now here's a follow-up to a story we brought you on Tuesday. One of the Freedom Convoy organizers, Tamara Leach, will be remaining in an Ottawa jail until at least Friday. The judge, Paul Harris, stated he had a lot of notes and needed time to consider if Leach should be released. Leach was arrested for allegedly breaching her bail conditions. She was seen in a video clip with Tom Marazzo after she accepted a Freedom Award in Toronto. Part of her bail condition stipulates that she cannot communicate with Marazzo, who is also part of the Freedom Convoy, except in the presence of legal counsel. Ari Goldkind is a criminal defense lawyer in Toronto, and he thinks the Crown is trying to make an example of Tamara Leach.
This is one of the most egregious abusive processes by one Crown attorney in Ottawa and one homicide detective that I've ever seen. This is one of the grossest abuses of taxpayer money and hardworking funds that I've ever seen. And by the way, I'm not somebody who's on the side of the Freedom Convoy. I don't care what your political views are. This is one of the most abominable days in an Ottawa courtroom that I have ever seen, and I've been doing this for 20 years.
The Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, which is representing Tamara Leach, says she spent a total of 27 days in jail despite having no criminal history. The Alberta government announced that it will be investing $3.2 million to train more Albertans to work in the construction industry. Officials say the initiative will provide hands-on training to prepare Albertans for jobs in the trades. Funding will support wage top-ups, training, and personal protective equipment, along with tool costs for apprentices.
The goal of the pilot is to engage, as I mentioned, unemployed and underemployed young Albertans, to provide them with a unique opportunity to train across multiple construction organizations, to gain hands-on experience, and to develop comprehensive, exciting skills. Now, as you may know, under the traditional apprenticeship model, a trainee would typically work with just one organization and would be limited to the experiences available within that single framework. However, participants in this new Trade Pathways program will have the opportunity to gain skills and gain experience in a variety of different trades and different companies.
Former Alberta Children's Services Minister Rebecca Schultz is running to become the new leader of the UCP. She says she has what it takes to unite the Conservatives and become our new premier. Schultz also says when it comes to health care, she has a solid plan.
Primary care has to be a priority in terms of how we recruit physicians, coming up with innovative and unique ways to get more young people from rural communities getting into med school and coming back and serving as a family doc in their local community. I think there is a lot that can be done there. And working with different areas across the province, because the needs in Lethbridge may not be the same as in Bonnyville, for example, right? So we have a really good opportunity ahead of us to work with those communities and get more family docs in the system.
Catch the full in-depth interview with UCP leadership hopeful Rebecca Schultz coming up after business news. Lindsey Clark has been the mayor of Medicine Hat, Alberta since last fall. Clark says being the mayor of the gas city has had its fair share of challenges. She also says a long-term plan is needed in helping those with mental health issues coming out of the pandemic. She was specifically addressing some of the cases of young men who committed suicide in Medicine Hat last year.
It's not something that's going to be solved overnight. It's a tragic situation, and it probably in part has to do with economic factors. COVID saw a lot of people in isolation. It's not one thing, and I think there's no one size fits all solution, but we will continue to work with our community partners, facilitating, empowering, bringing them together, because that's something that no community wants to see.
Make sure you watch the full interview with BCN's Naveen Day and Medicine Hat Mayor Lindsey Clark coming up later in our broadcast. The father of a 13-year-old girl who had been missing for 8 days wants to warn parents about the dangers of meeting people online. His daughter disappeared in Edmonton on June 24th after getting on her school bus that morning, but didn't show up at school. On July 2nd, she was located in Oregon. 41-year-old Noah Medrano is in custody facing charges of child luring. Additional charges may follow as the investigation continues. The teen's father, who wants to remain anonymous, warns that this could happen to any parent.
I can't stress it enough that being vigilant with your children with their online activities is crucial. The websites that my daughter were using, they were mainstream websites, and I don't really want to name apps, but I will say that there's a lot of children's games should really be locked down, and I would, advise parents to really look at, is there a messenger service on any of the apps that children are using? And if there is, I would advise to maybe find another game for your child, because that is a conduit into this underworld, and they will reach out, and it always starts out innocent, and it will go very sinister very quickly, and it will be completely out of your control, because you assume that they're just playing a game, but they're actually talking to adults that are preying on our children.
The teen's father says his daughter was both, quote, groomed and brainwashed by the suspect over a period of time. Well, we saw some moisture in many regions of southwestern Alberta again today. Jeanette Roche is in now with an early peek at the forecast. Jeanette, many of our farmers must be happy with all of the rain we've received lately.
Yeah, Hal, well, I think that they would be, especially because we are expected to see more showers this evening. In fact, Lethbridge and surrounding area is under a severe thunderstorm watch, meaning that conditions are favorable to develop into severe thunderstorms. That could include hail, heavy rains, strong winds. So those are supposed to develop in the foothills or possibly move in from BC and Montana and then head east across the province. So that we need to be on the lookout for. Into Thursday, also, we're looking at a chance of showers and a risk of a thunderstorm in the afternoon, but warm, 28 degrees and high humidity. After that, though, it should be sunny skies from here on out. I'll have all the details about that coming up later on in the newscast.
Great. Thanks so much, Jeanette. Federal Health Minister Jean-Yves Duclos says Canadians will be required to get a COVID-19 booster shot every 9 months in order to be considered fully vaccinated. When asked if he was preparing for the return of vaccine mandates in the fall, Duclos told Blacklock's reporter that we must continue to fight against COVID-19. He says, like the virus, our immunity also evolves, so 2 doses are no longer enough. Duclos says being up to date with vaccinations will mean that you've received your last dose within the last 9 months. Recent stats show that 86% of Canadians over the age of 5 have had at least 2 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. Personal support workers are often the lifeblood for those who need assistance here in our community. Now, the Home Care Hero Award was given to a Lethbridge-based worker. It acknowledges the important work personal support workers do around Canada to help out seniors and those who require care. Video journalist Micah Quinn has more on this special honor.
It's always nice to be recognized specifically by our client.
Robin Platts was awarded the Home Care Hero Award through one of her clients. The award includes a cool $2,500 provided by Home Equity Bank. Platts created the home healthcare service company, Seamless Cares Limited, after the idea was sitting in her mind following the death of her husband.
When he was ill, I found it very challenging to be his caregiver and be a spouse and do all the things that needed to be done. Didn't know what to do with it at the time other than kind of just parked in the back of my mind. with my other business, it kind of really came to light that there's a need here in Lethbridge, something beyond day-to-day support.
The award also recognizes personal support workers who help out Canadians that want to age in place in their homes, and Platts says their company doesn't differentiate between medical and non-medical care.
So whether it's helping them do some of the tasks that they struggle with now, perhaps it's going up and down the stairs to do laundry, light housekeeping. We look at care as care, and so we want to provide that all-encompassing.
Research released by Home Equity Bank through Ipsos survey data said that 92% of Canadians want to age in place, and only 12% that are 45 years of age or older report having enough room in their budget for in-home care, which can cost between $150 to $600 per day. Vivian Gochi from Home Equity Bank says 1 in 5 Canadians has a personal support worker or knows someone who does.
As our country ages and as we prefer to stay in our homes, just how important personal support workers are going to be to the infrastructure of Canada.
Additional data from the survey asked Canadians over 45 what they would cut from their budget if they needed to afford a personal support worker, and 42% said they would forego leaving a legacy for their family, 23% said they would sacrifice food and living expenses, and 13% would go without medication. For Bridge City News, I'm Micah Quinn.
The Alberta Spca is reminding pet owners to never leave a dog alone in a hot vehicle. Now, with the summer heat, this can greatly impact the dog, causing the animal to become distressed quite quickly. An official with the Spca says there are certain signs to look out for if you see a dog in distress in a hot vehicle.
Their panting is their form of, expelling that hot air. And of course, you add to that the wearing a fur coat. So it just aggravates the situation by putting them into a metal box, which is going to heat up very, very, very quickly. So again, if you see a dog sitting on the passenger seat and it is hot, but the dog appears to be fine, just breathing normally, it's that excessive panting and the looking in that distress. You'd be able to tell straight away just from the action of the dog.
Dodd says if there is a dog in a vehicle and you're worried for its well-being, don't smash the car window, but instead call the police or 911. Over the past year, there's been about a 50% increase in the number of homeless tent encampments within the city of Lethbridge. Many argue it's due to the fact that there's no permanent supportive housing within the city. With that, the city says it's also seeing an increased number of overdoses, illegal activity, and aggressive behavior in and around those tent encampments. City Council has voted unanimously to direct the city to report back with a strategy on how to best respond to those tent encampments.
So what we're working through right now is a flow chart. So I'd be able to show what is currently being done, where are the gaps, and how can we fill those gaps. So what council is curious about is what is that going to look like. So they've given us to October to try and map that all out and show a comprehensive process. Our current process is on the City of Lethbridge website. On community social development, and you just click on the encampment and it tells you what our process is, how we're dealing with current issues, where you call if there is any issues happening that you're witnessing. It is an area where we understand there's nowhere for these people to go, so we do have to be compassionate about that, but we also have to make sure that everybody's health and safety is looked after.
The city is also talking with the province to come up with a permanent housing solution for those who are experiencing homelessness here in Lethbridge. A new online survey has been launched by the City of Lethbridge. City officials want input from locals as to whether garbage and recycling should be picked up in the front or back of their homes, which have back lanes. The survey is open until August the 1st, and results will be shared on September 28th at a policy committee meeting. The bright colors and fantastic sounds of Street Machine Weekend are coming back to Lethbridge this weekend. The Street Wheelers Car Club was founded back in 1976 and is in charge of putting on the biggest classic car show in southern Alberta. Daryl Herbers, who's been a member of the car club for almost 43 years, says you can expect to see a wide variety of unique vehicles at the show and shine on Sunday, along with a truck of his own, which has kind of a superhero theme to it.
When I ordered it, it came in green, so that kind of just went from there. And it's gone through many transformations in its life. I've had it brand new since 1976, and I've been the only owner of it, and luckily enough, I still have it today, and it's a lot of fun. Some days you get more than 500 in the park down the town, but it's always been a really good attended event. And you'll get anything from your average whatever you can see on the street that day to your $1 million cars that'll be out there for that day.
It's a pretty cool truck. Following the Sunday show and shine at Gull Gardens, awards will be dished out recognizing some of the best classic vehicles. Now, the Lethbridge Police Service has sent out a reminder to those participating in the Street Machine Weekend to celebrate responsibly and to obey the traffic laws. The event will start with a drive-in movie on Thursday and will wrap up on Sunday. Police are expecting a lot of spectators to show up this weekend.
This would be the first year in a couple of years that everything is lifted. I do expect that Merrimagrath Drive is going to be lined on both sides with spectators and vehicles. We've had bumper-to-bumper traffic the last couple of years regardless. I don't think we had as many spectators, but I do expect that that's going to increase this year for sure. This weekend is all about antique vehicles. Obviously, those vehicles are going to be doing their parade on Friday night. What we're looking for this weekend is any type of major traffic violation, stunting, racing, stuff like that we are going to be cracking down on.
This is the 44th year the event is taking place here in our city. Federal agents are reviewing the online profiles of the suspect in the mass shooting at a parade near Chicago. Robert Cremo was an aspiring rapper who posted dozens of videos and songs on social media, including some with violent content. An official says an early examination of Cremo's internet history indicates he had researched mass killings and had downloaded photos depicting violent acts, including a beheading. Cremo's facing 7 first-degree murder charges from the mass shooting, which took place July 4th at Highland Park, Illinois. The U.S. Justice Department says it has arrested 1,500 violent crime fugitives, sex offenders, and gang members in many major cities across the United States. This follows a month-long major crackdown on crime by federal authorities.
Operation North Star was a 30-day anti-violent crime initiative conducted by the Marshals Service in the 10 apprehending the most violent criminals with warrants in 10 cities across the country. That was done in June. They apprehended over 1,500 fugitives in those cities, most of whom were wanted for the most serious, violent, and harmful offenses, including, in particular, homicide.
A defiant British Prime Minister Boris Johnson vowed to stay in power on Wednesday after the resignations of 2 top ministers and his slew of more junior officials. They said they could no longer serve under his scandal-tarred leadership.
I also believe a team is as good as its team captain, and that a captain is as good as his or her team. So loyalty must go both ways. The events of recent months have made it increasingly difficult to be in that team.
I apologise to everybody who's been badly affected by it, and I just want to make absolutely clear that there's no place in this government for anybody who is predatory or who abuses their position of power.
A physician in South Florida has raised around $37,000 to purchase a brand new ambulance for her hometown in Ukraine. Since the war with Russia began, Tatiana Borisiak has been helping family members and other Ukrainians with relief efforts.
All the situation in Ukraine, it affects us all, and all of us have to do some kind of part. And that was my first thought, is maybe I could help from this part of the world to do something for them. I cannot send weapons, I cannot send bullets or anything like that, but I thought as a medical doctor I should be able to help, and that's where the idea to arrange for an ambulance and to form the foundation was born.
What a great idea, purchasing an ambulance for those in Ukraine. Well, a number of areas of southwestern Alberta saw more rain again today, and it appears as though that trend may continue for the short term. Complete weather details are coming up. We saw more shower activity in parts of southwestern Alberta again today. Jeanette Rocher is in now with all of the weather details. Jeanette, the moisture was a welcome sight once again for our farmers and ranchers?
Yeah, but now they might be bracing from the lightning and the hail because the conditions in southern Alberta are expected to develop into a severe thunderstorm watch overnight. So that could include strong winds, heavy rains, hail, lightning. Into tomorrow, though, we are looking at partly sunny skies in the morning and then developing into 30% chance of showers with the risk of a thunderstorm in late afternoon. 28 degrees, though, the high, and the humidex 31. So we're looking at very high humidity tomorrow. Into Friday, also 28 degrees, lots of sunshine, and like I said, sunny skies from here on out. Saturday, beautiful day, 27, 25 the high on Sunday, 29 on Monday, and all the way up to 32 degrees for next Tuesday. So it looks like July has certainly arrived. According to the almanac, the average high for this time of year, 25. Average low, 10. 34 was our high temperature on this day back in 1975. And in 1994, we were sitting at only 2 degrees. Chilly. 5:32 is when the sun rose this morning. Our sun set this evening, 9:41 p.m., giving us 1 minute less of daylight today than we had yesterday. So we're sitting at 16 hours and 9 minutes of daylight today. Victoria looking at showers, 18 degrees the high, 20 the high in Vancouver tomorrow with a chance of showers as well. 22 in Edmonton. They're looking at showers there with the possibility of some thunderstorms in the afternoon. Same thing in Calgary, 25 degrees the high and high humidity as well. Also looking at that risk of thunderstorm in the afternoon. 27 the high tomorrow in Saskatoon with a mix of sun and cloud. 23 in Regina. Regina looking at some cloudy skies there and a chance of showers. 24 in Winnipeg, very clear skies there. Should be a warm, humid one there as well. 26 the high in Toronto. Toronto sitting on a partly cloudy skies, clearing in Ottawa. 26 degrees the high. Same thing in Montreal there. 26 the high under sunny skies and a high humidex as well. Also high UV index. So definitely pull out the sunscreen if you are in that area. 23 the high in Fredericton under sunny skies, sunshine in Halifax. 24. 21 the high in Charlottetown and a high of 23 degrees in St. John's, Newfoundland with a chance of showers. So there you have it. That is your forecast.
Rogers and Shaw plan to continue working to highlight the benefits of their merger after days of talks with the Competition Bureau failed to resolve the regulator's objections to it. The competition watchdog wants to block the merger on the grounds consumers will end up with less choice and higher bills. The deal has been approved by shareholders and the CRTC, but it's still being reviewed by the Competition Bureau along with the Minister of Innovation, Science and Economic Development. The United Truckers Association says its members have voted in favor of job action at the Port of Vancouver. They're protesting a program that would force the phase-out of older trucks. The association says that 639 members voted to support action that could create shockwaves across Canada's already fragile supply chain. A program aimed at banning older trucks to clean the air is set to begin in September. The association, however, says the scheme will impose crippling costs on drivers. The association says members have agreed to hold talks with the port this month, but will move forward with a shutdown next month if aging trucks are banned. Media reports say Twitter has challenged the Indian government in court over orders to take down content from its social media platform. The lawsuit was filed on Tuesday. It represents part of a growing confrontation between Twitter and Indian officials over new laws giving the government more power to police online content. Experts say the new rules amount to censorship. Indian officials call them necessary to tackle disinformation and hate speech. Now, here's a look at today's markets. The TSX was down 104 points on the day to finish at 18,729. The Dow was up 69 points to 31,037. The S&P 500 was up 13 points to 3845, and the Nasdaq was up 39 on the day to 11,361. West Texas Intermediate Oil was down 90 cents to 98.60 US per barrel. Natural gas was up 2 cents to 5.55 US. Gold was down 26.07 on the day to 17.3870 US an ounce, and silver was down a cent to 19.21 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $11.70 per bushel, barley's at $8.71, canola's at $18.68, and corn is at $10.54 per bushel. Live cattle August contract was up $1.58 to $134.50. Feeder cattle August contract was up 60 cents to $173.30, and lean hogs July contract was up $1 to $113.15. The Canadian dollar was down slightly over the past 24 hours to 76.67 US. Recapping one of our top stories, Patrick Brown has been disqualified from running to become the new leader of the federal Conservatives. In a statement, the Leadership Election Organizing Committee said they became aware of serious allegations of wrongdoing with the Patrick Brown campaign. It included violating the financial provisions of the Canada Elections Act. There are reports that Brown, who's the mayor of Brampton, may have used city resources to support his CPC leadership campaign. Patrick Brown says his legal team is investigating those allegations. Rebecca Schultz, former Children's Services Minister here in Alberta, is running to become the next leader of the UCP and Premier of our province. Coming up, we shall see where she stands on a wide range of issues, including healthcare and education. Our exclusive interview with Rebecca Schultz is coming up shortly. Alberta's United Conservative Party leadership race is heating up. Now, the party will be choosing its new leader to replace Premier Jason Kenney on October the 6th. One of those candidates vying for the Premier seat is Rebecca Schultz, who left her UCP cabinet post as Minister of Children's Services to enter the leadership race. Rebecca, welcome to Bridge City News.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. It's my pleasure.
Absolutely. So what sparked your interest in running to become the new leader of the UCP and potentially the new Premier of Alberta?
You know, I just feel so strongly about the future of our province, and I know that the success of our United Conservative Party is key to the future of our province. I think that, you know, as we travel across the province, and what I've been hearing from people is that there are a number of things going really well right now. Our economy is good. There are lots of jobs. Unemployment is down. You know, but people also want to see a slightly different change in tone when it comes to the government, and they want to make sure that the government hears their voices, that they've got a voice at the decision-making table. And, you know, I think we really need to stay focused on being hopeful and optimistic for our future, but also recognizing that people have some very real concerns right now, whether that be affordability or healthcare or education. And so, you know, that's really the voice that I try to bring to the table. I want to be completely honest. I want to show humility, not just talk about it, admit when we've made some mistakes, and show Albertans that we're here to work for them, to listen to them, and that we hear, you know, what's top of mind for them as well.
You know, you just mentioned kind of why card-carrying members should vote for you, but what's one thing specifically that makes you stand out or different from all the other candidates in the field?
You know, I would say it is my ability to communicate with people. I think we need somebody going into that next election who can, in fact, take on Rachel Notley and the NDP. That is our opponent as Conservatives. It's not each other, even though we've been through a very difficult couple of years. I think people want to see that shift in tone. You know, I chose Alberta. I'm originally from Saskatchewan. And so when people say 4 years of an NDP government was really hard here in Alberta, I say try 16. You know, any room I go into across Alberta, there are a number of people who came from another province or another place. And generally speaking, they came to opportunity. They came to Alberta for opportunity, for that promise that if you can work hard, you can be whoever and whatever you want to be and chart your own path. And I think people are looking for that optimism, that different tone, that ability to resonate with people right across the political spectrum. As, you know, as Conservatives, I would say we always talk about the center right, but show people that we can be a Conservative government that also just uses good old common sense and, of course, compassion when we make decisions.
Now, Rebecca, the UCP says it's a big tent party, but it appears to be a little fractured right now in that tent with a lot of animosity. What will it take to really unite the Conservatives once again here in Alberta?
That's a really good question, and it's one I get a lot. You know, it starts with our team. We have an amazing team of MLAs right across this province that are hardworking and smart and dedicated, and I know that they want to be united. And like many party members, I would say there were times where they felt like their voice just wasn't heard at the table. You know, and I would say when talking about my team, I spent a couple of days last week with your MLA, who is a strong voice for Lethbridge, you know, at the table, absolutely no question, Emily Neudorf. But, you know, it's for me, it's building on the talents and strengths of the team. It's not about any one person. And so making sure that our team feels heard is priority number one. My other commitment was to travel to every single one of the 87 constituencies, knock on doors in every single riding, make sure that I'm meeting with every single CA board president and the volunteers to make sure that our grassroots party members know that in me, they will have somebody who will always listen and hear their concerns, hear where they're coming from. And I don't think that people expect to agree with every decision a government is going to make. Largely, the concerns sometimes are around how decisions have been made and how they're communicated. And so that's really the approach that I'm going to take.
Yeah, because some MLAs said, you know what, we're forced always to toe the party line. Our voices are not being heard. So how would you approach that problem and that issue as Premier of Alberta?
Yep. And, again, it does start with bringing our team together. And yes, we are a party. It's a party system. And I think there is always that question of, we are the party of different opinions. We value things like freedom of speech and diversity of thoughts and ideas. We want people to hold the values that they hold dear, and we respect those differences. Sometimes I joke that that's what makes conservative politics a little bit messy, but it's also one of the things that we need to continue to hold as one of our most important values. That said, we still have to show discipline. And so the question is, where do we have those discussions? How as a team can we come together and say, look, we are always going to value different opinions and different thoughts and different perspectives, but what, as a team, does discipline look like to us? And make sure that, we come to that as a team and know what is that line that we're not going to cross, and what's going to happen if that line is in fact crossed. And I think, largely speaking, people want to see that there's one set of rules for everybody. They don't want me to come and tell everybody what to do. That's not my approach. I'm not a top-down approach to leadership kind of person. But I think our team really does have to have that conversation around, what does discipline look like? Because we're going to need it as we head into the next election. How do we stay on message, on track, and still make sure everybody's voices are heard?
We don't know exactly what lies ahead with any future COVID-19 outbreaks, but everyone seems to have a different opinion on how this should really be handled. Are you in favor of vaccine mandates or lockdowns? Or are you the mindset that we should not see any more lockdowns in our province, which has really hurt small business owners?
I would say this. Throughout the pandemic, and I mean, those sitting on the sidelines or even those of us looking back now, hindsight is 2020, we learned a lot of things. We were faced with something that none of us ever could have expected and none of us had ever been through before. And I would say this, throughout especially the last couple of months of the pandemic, but with the various waves, and we saw obviously things changing from one wave to the next, we know a lot more now. We know that we have to address issues within our hospital system. We have to address capacity needs when it comes to the healthcare system. We've heard loud and clear, people want freedom of choice and autonomy over the decisions that they make. And I often, again, say we've spent, 2 years going through something very hard. We have been through something that has been so divisive, and I believe we should respect where people are coming from and focus on also the overall well-being and mental health of people. I mean, especially of kids. That's what I was working in before resigning to jump into this race. But we saw that the health restrictions had a very real impact, especially on kids and youth, but really Albertans right across the province. And, I think Albertans are looking for us to say, you know what, we hear you. We know that has had a significant impact, and we need to look at the issues around the healthcare system and hospital capacity to address future waves.
Now, you want to put in place what you refer to as affordability actions. The first one is the Alberta Activity Grant. What is this really all about?
That actually came out of the Child and Youth Wellbeing Review. We heard, again, health restrictions had an impact on kids and families. We need to prioritize the mental health and well-being of Albertans, especially of young kids, and help them get back into activities. I mean, whether that be piano or hockey or soccer or dance, things that kids are passionate about at a time where parents are really struggling with affordability. I mean, I think of when I was growing up, I had amazing parents and a wonderful family, but I remember my parents making those really tough decisions. And I know there are parents who lay awake at night thinking about how they are going to pay their electricity bills and put gas in their car, and also help get their kids in things that they can be passionate about, and that will improve their overall well-being and mental health. So, I mean, I think that's one of the things that we can control. We don't control financial, federal monetary policy, but we do control what we can do with this surplus and direct it in a way that goes directly to parents and kids, supports the choices they make. I believe in parent choice. And so as opposed to necessarily funding one program or the other, I think those dollars should go to parents to help them out with their kids and their families. And also on the details of what exactly that looks like, I said, that's something I want to take to caucus too. It's not all about me and my ideas. I want my colleagues to weigh in on exactly how we're going to do that. But I think affordability, and it's not just I think, that's the number one thing I hear right across the province. Mental health and well-being, that's important too. So that was one of our first commitments as well.
Now, you've also proposed to implement an Alberta small business tax holiday. How would that work?
Well, and that's been raised by a number of organizations. I know our business tax is low, but we also have to recognize that the last 2 years have been really hard on small businesses throughout the pandemic. I know that there's been a lot of uncertainty, and a lot of small business owners have said, look, my business really struggled over the last 2 years. I absolutely believe that these entrepreneurs are at the heart of the entrepreneurial spirit that we all talk about. These are folks that drive our economy. They hire people in our local communities right across the province. And I think starting with the 2% small business tax holiday is an excellent way to show them, first, that they're valued, second, that we completely understand what they've been through in the last couple of years, but third, that they are absolutely vital to our province's economic growth and recovery.
Rebecca, let's chat about healthcare for just a moment here. What really needs to be done to change and increase physician availability, decrease wait times, and increase hospital bed capacity? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and the physician, the family doc situation is something I did hear a lot about in Lethbridge. I know the Minister of Health, Minister Copping, has been working really hard on that as well, just to attract new doctors. And I know your MLA Newdorf, has raised that as well, and was able to update a number of people on the number of doctors that are now signing contracts and coming to Lethbridge specifically. But this is an issue that we hear right across the province. We need to make sure, that we have access to family doctors either in or near your local community. And I grew up in super small town Saskatchewan, and so I know the struggles that people face in rural communities, and especially when it comes to access to healthcare. Primary care has to be a priority in terms of how we recruit physicians, coming up with innovative and unique ways to get more young people from rural communities getting into med school and coming back and serving as a family doc in their local community. I think there is a lot that can be done there. And working with different areas across the province, because the needs in Lethbridge may not be the same as in Bonnyville, for example, right? So we have a really good opportunity ahead of us to work with those communities and get more family docs in the system. I think that a lot of our answers, we obviously know that we've got a Ernst & Young report that identified a lot of kind of the red tape within the system. We know that we invest more than other provinces per capita, but yet we don't have better outcomes. I don't think we need more reports. I think, honestly, the answer lies with our frontline healthcare professionals. Doctors, nurses have identified not just middle management, but layers of bureaucracy and simple changes that could be made within the healthcare system to really focus on allowing frontline workers to do what they do best and really transform the thinking in our healthcare system around having the patient at the heart of it and not a process or policy.
Now, what about education? There's pressure from the teachers' union to change their curriculum, to decrease class sizes, to put less money into private schools, maybe even homeschooling. Which direction do you want to see our education system go?
Oh, that's a great question. I care a lot about education. I really do. My kids are 7 and 4. And I think right across this province, people want to make sure that we have a world-class education system for our kids. I believe in parent choice. I believe that, parents can make that best decision for them in terms of the type of education that works best for their child and for their family. And we need to maintain that. We have a long history in that front, no question. That said, I think curriculum, yes, there are a few things we've got great feedback on. English, math, financial literacy, those are all really great things, that we get a lot of positive feedback on. Continue moving in that path. There are some areas, though, where we missed the mark, and we need to rebuild some trust in that process and get some feedback and show parents and teachers across the province that we're listening, we've heard them, and that is definitely going to be a priority of mine. I also feel, one of the things I hear a lot is around class sizes, as you mentioned, and having teachers and kids in the classroom at the heart of the decisions we make and the funding decisions that are made. And we hear a lot about the government saying that school divisions have local authority and school divisions saying government hasn't given us enough funding. I am a problem solver, first and foremost, creative problem solver. And I think we need to get to the table and look at, where's the money going? I mean, I'm from Calgary, as you mentioned, and, we have a school division that had a report that identified if we funded school divisions like others, or if the school division ran like some of the other major divisions, that we would have far lower class sizes. So my question is, how can we make sure that we're focusing on kids and teachers in the classroom? I made a commitment that I want to make sure we have more EAs hired. Absolutely. I think that helps with teachers, right? It helps bring down the stress level. It gives them some support in the classroom. It's good for kids, whether kids, that are struggling with mental health or struggling in class, or have unique or challenging needs. We need to make sure that those supports are there. And I also do want to pilot some very true wraparound services to address the mental health needs that really respects that schools are the hubs of a community. And for really vulnerable kids and families, that's going to be where they need to get those supports.
Rebecca Schultz is a candidate in the UCP leadership race. The party will be choosing its new leader on October the 6th. Rebecca, thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me anytime.
Medicine Hat has been known as the gas city, with sunny days and a low cost of living. These days, the Hat, as locals often call it, still has the natural gas wells and clear summer skies. It really is a gateway to Alberta and a destination for many. After the multi-year reign of former Mayor Ted Clugston, the people of the gas city elected Lindsey Clark last fall. Mayor Clark joins me now from her office in Medicine Hat. Mayor Clark, thank you for joining me today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Now, since you've been in office, what have you heard from citizens regarding major priorities to tackle?
Well, we had the advantage of completing our strategic plan just after an election where we heard loud and clear from the community. That strategic plan reflects what we heard, and it's partly, making sure that we're taking care of our vulnerable populations within the city. That, obviously benefits our community as a whole. And, I think a lot of communities are experiencing a lot of challenges right now, economic challenges with mental health, and of course, the housing issues that are happening right now. And so we want to make sure that all of those issues are on the table, and we're progressing within our community with our community partners to address those issues. We also heard from our community that they wanted a better interface with the city. So we really want to focus on communication with our community, and of course within our organization as well, to make sure that, not only do people love living here, but if they're working for the City of Medicine Hat, they love working for the City of Medicine Hat too.
Great. Now, what are some of the obstacles that you see that maybe you didn't see before you took this position?
Well, the job of mayor is a big job, as is every councillor, and we're experiencing a very difficult time with the supply chain issues, inflation. I mean, that had started during the election. So, we did have a sense of that, but I'm not sure that anyone could have predicted how prolonged that would be. And that's having an impact both on, the city's finances with, the cost of supplies and, everything that a city needs to run, but also on the citizens of Medicine Hat. So we're simultaneously experiencing, difficult time in our economy as inflation is going up, and the supply chain issues are making it difficult for some aspects of the economy to restart. So we're hoping to see at least the supply chain issues resolve in the next while here, and definitely hoping that the steps of the federal government regarding inflation have an impact.
Now, this is your first term as mayor, and you must have a great team around you. Do you feel that as a city administration, you and the city council have been achieving your goals so far? And what are some of the successes you have seen?
So we have already started some initiatives. So we directed administration to start putting together an environmental framework, which is an important aspect of moving forward, especially as a municipality that owns its own electric and gas utilities. De-risking carbon is a hot topic, and with the increasing cost of carbon, we're looking to make sure that we're in a really good position moving forward with our electric utility and gas utility. Also, we just completed our strategic plan, and that's very exciting because that provides a roadmap for what we want to accomplish over the next four years, like for our term, but also even beyond that. And certainly some of those projects are going to take a little longer than others, but you can't finish unless you start.
Absolutely. And along with having a strong city council, as mayor, how important are community groups in helping you accomplish the goals of the city?
Very important. Community groups play such an important role in a city accomplishing its goals. We have a very involved community, and one of the aspects of our strategic plan is to make sure that where the community can take a leadership role on resolving issues or making things happen, we want to make sure that we're facilitating and empowering those community groups. So we have an amazing housing community here. Our Medicine Hat Community Housing Society has been, in the news, very active, and we're grateful to have an excellent partnership with them. One other really cool example is our skateboard association in the city, and the work that they've done to make skateboarding a real community in Medicine Hat, and fundraise to have integrated skate parks and a larger skate facility where we just had Beat the Heat competition at. It was just incredible, and it's just such a good example of how just empowering the people in your community to move forward with what they're passionate about can be so valuable.
Now, Mayor Clark, the city has had the new arena for several years now. Now that events are back on, does Co-op Place have a profitable future in your opinion?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are hopeful that we are going to see an uptick in the cultural and artistic events that happen throughout the city. There's still a variety of restrictions across different municipalities, province, and states that are complicating entertainers trying to put together a tour circuit, but we are seeing good interest from entertainers eager to get back in front of audiences. And our sense is it'll be good for markets like Medicine Hat in terms of the variety of entertainers we might have an opportunity to host. So although we're still seeing a bit of market tentativeness there, we are seeing it ease a little bit.
And Medicine Hat is a growing city, and with growth comes controversy at times. There was a bit of controversy over the new property and with the old arena space as well. Are there redevelopment plans for the old arena?
So the land sale for the old arena site is pending. So while we wait for the new developer to meet certain conditions, as far as what will ultimately be at that location, new developments will be subject to zoning approvals that council will need to consider.
And can you talk a bit about how tourism is an important part of Medicine Hat's economy?
Yes, and before I do that, I want to recognize that we have an incredible destination marketing organization here, and they've done exceptional work to, even throughout COVID, make sure that people understood the value of the tourism opportunities we had right here when we were, all quarantined. We still had opportunities within Medicine Hat to do little staycations, and with summer 2022, we are back to in-person events. And later this summer, we're going to be having a Porch Fest, which is Medicine Hat's newest festival, and that's just in its second year. And the Mywasson Friendship Center is going to be doing 2-story tours. We have the upcoming Stampede and the return of a favorite summer event, the Parade, which will be my first year participating in that, actually in the parade as mayor. I had the opportunity to participate in Redcliffe's parade earlier this year, and it was really fun. I sat with the Reeve of Cypress County and the mayor of Redcliffe in a really beautiful convertible. So it was a really good time. All of our tourism opportunities do bring opportunities for people to come and visit. We had as I mentioned, we had the Beat the Heat skateboarding competition. We had a hot air balloon festival, which brings people from all over to enjoy what Medicine Hat has to offer. And we also are having a seniors PGA championship this year, which is very exciting at our Canuck Golf Course.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, are there older parts of the city, maybe like Riverside, that could be a candidate to see new developments? Maybe it's not just residential areas, but also businesses or redeveloped schools?
Yeah, so one of the elements of our strategic plan is to focus on infill and brownfield development. So we want to make sure that as a city, we're not putting any additional barriers to infill development, and where possible, we're incentivizing. So we just recently passed, last night, we just passed a tax incentive bylaw that one element is in there is for brownfield redevelopment. So that's very exciting. Certainly, we want to maximize the infrastructure that's already within the city, and the older, we have the Hill and the Flats and Riverside, and they're all such beautiful neighborhoods. And even just creating a secondary suite, or altering a beautiful old home into an office space or a work live situation, we want to make sure that we're using all of the levers that we have to kind of encourage that type of increased density and growth.
One of the stories we have covered in the past on Bridge City News was a problem with young men committing suicide in the Gas City. How has that been addressed?
Well, it's ongoing. That's a long-term solution. We have to, again, work with our community, bring all kinds of different groups with different ideas together to ensure that, we understand the root cause of that, and we're moving forward to address it. It's not something that's going to be solved overnight. It's a tragic situation, and it probably in part has to do with economic factors. COVID saw a lot of people in isolation. It's not one thing, and I think there's no one size fits all solution, but we will continue to work with our community partners, facilitating, empowering, bringing them together, because that's something that no community wants to see, and that the ripple effect that has on families and neighbors is tremendous. And it's definitely something that this council is dedicated to, working and making sure that we're finding the right path forward to find solutions.
And then the other question I want to ask is about the transportation corridors in your area. Can you talk a bit about the twinning of Highway 3 and how that would benefit Medicine Hat area?
Yeah, so we have a Councillor Darren Hirsch, who sits on the Highway Twinning Committee, and we are actually there retaining PricewaterhouseCoopers to complete a study to study the economic footprint on the twinning, the remaining sections of Highway 3 in Alberta. So that study will consist of two components, one being the estimation of the direct and indirect economic and tax footprint that twinning is expected to create. And the other part of the study consists of identifying and assessing wider socioeconomic impacts of twinning. So that study, the association expects a draft later this summer with a final report by fall. So when that comes up, I'd love to chat again and tell you the exact details of the economic and socioeconomic impacts.
And what about the airport? There's been a lot of developments of the lands around the airport. How do you see this development helping your corner of the province?
Well, we are fortunate to have a municipal airport, and we definitely want to look to maximize its utilization. And obviously, that with any kind of commercial industrial development, that not only brings in tax revenue for the city, it provides jobs for local residents. And as much as possible, we can do secondary services for some of the industry we already have in Medicine Hat, and create that horizontal integration. But we're looking forward to building it out and providing opportunity for people in Medicine Hat and for people to move to Medicine Hat.
Mayor Clark, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.
That was Medicine Hat Mayor Lindsey Clark joining me today. I'm Naveen Day. On behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News, thanks for watching.